Welcome to Home's Room. Just like Homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin. Welcome back to another episode of Home's Room. At this point, episodes have been dropping for us in like our current timeline. So I am super excited to have my Mondays back. Hopefully everybody out there is excited to have their Mondays kicked off, or, you know, whatever day of the week they listen to this podcast. Hopefully they're excited to have them back in their feed, because I know I am. What about you, Caitlin?
You know, we keep it real. I'm apologizing in advance to editing Matt in the future. I hear my toddler screaming in the background, but it is what it is, you know? Other than that, I'm so excited. It's such a peaceful calm that comes over my spirit when I hear our intro music. I love it.
Shout out Spencer McKenzie Brown once again. Go listen to his stuff on Spotify. I think that you say that, and a lot of times in editing, I can't hear it. Like the software that we use, shout out to Riverside, their software does what it's supposed to do, and I don't ever have to worry about it. Like I listen to it and I'm like, oh, I can't hear it, and then I'm like, maybe, but at the same time, it's only ever like when you're talking, so I just hear you talking. Like that's probably the only time where it can't distinguish one sound from another. So it's usually fine, not a big deal.
Perfect.
What is a big deal is, you know, trying to keep up with life and things like that, and then when you get those little I don't want to call them like gold nuggets, because I don't want to relate it to like a monetary thing, but like when you get those little like blissful, like, I'm so glad that this happened, and I got one of those to share, which I don't usually have one of those to share. So we're going to start off with that. So I'm back in Derby, at least for, you know, a little while as a coach. And one of the things that my school does is a skate unit. And I talked to the gym teacher and I was like, hey, what do you think about like if I can get some people to come in and like do a little demo, and then like maybe we could put on a scrimmage or something, you know, just like as an assembly. She's like, I would love that. And then we tried to work it out over the last month. And I literally, the night before, this happened last Friday for us. Today is Monday, we're recording. So it happened last Friday. And Thursday night, I like lost sleep because I was like so worried that people were going to flake and not show up. And then it wasn't going to come out. It wasn't going to work out right. I was like freaking out. This assembly that we put together could not have been any fucking better. It was insane. The most electric crowd I've ever skated in front of. And I got forced to skate by my teachers that I work with. Every time they were like, oh, are you excited to do this today? And I was like, oh, I'm not skating. They were like, what? And I was like, I've been retired for like going on 3 years now, man. Like I don't do this anymore. And they're like, you cannot have your roller derby group come to our school to put on an assembly and not. And I was like, yo, so I don't know. I didn't bring my stuff. I don't have any of it. So, and this is why the story is kind of relevant to the episode. I texted Courtney and I was like, man, all these teachers are like bullying me into, you know, like skating. And she legitimately was like, you should. The kids would love that. And I was like, how are you going to, what? And it was like one of those moments like, oh yeah, whatever, fine. Cause you're the wife. And when you say things, I got like, you know exactly what buttons to hit. So I was like, fine, whatever, bring my stuff. So I skated. It was fun. But back to the electric, we put on a demo of like skills and stuff like that. They laughed, you know, we showed them some stuff. Every time somebody fell for whatever reason, they like loved it. It was literally like what you would expect a bunch of children to laugh about. And then we started playing. And one of the players was like, we got to have them cheer for us as like a group. So like we need some of them to cheer for white and some of them to cheer for like team black. So I split them down the middle, said, hey, everybody on this side, you're going to go for team white, and everybody on this side, you're going to go for team black. And, you know, so like every time they do something, that's the team you're cheering on. These little kids went ape shit just in general. It was so loud. And the gym seems big, but when we put our track down, it was like almost touching the bleachers. So like it was like up close and personal, crazy like we would probably never do that in like for a safety reason again if we could choose not to. But yeah, so like crowd super loud. I couldn't even hear the start whistle. I didn't start on the whistle. I started on the reaction of the guy next to me because I couldn't hear it because I was on the side with them yelling. And I was like, this is insane. And then at the end of a jam or at the end of a scrimmage or the end of a game, a lot of times we they say last jam or whatever, especially a scrimmage. And these kids, there's a video of it on Facebook. If you haven't, if you don't follow Fountain City, you should go follow Fountain City. Go look it up. If you don't follow Courtney, you should go look it up. Um, this group of kids was so loud. They were chanting, one more jam. And it was just like, it was insane. And if you leave an event like that and you're not just like, that was fucking amazing. I love this feeling. This is exactly what it's for. I genuinely don't know if you have a pulse. You should probably go to a morgue. Not even a doctor. Skip that step. Go straight to the morgue. They'll take care of you, get you put in the ground. Because like it was exactly what I wanted it to be. And if you listen to this show, I can be goofy, I can be out there, I can be, like super insightful at times, but also like I am just fucking genuine. So when I go to put something together like that, I genuinely, with everything I have, just want it to be the best thing for the person viewing it, to inspire, to make them feel like this is something I can do. And this is not something that's like outside of the realm of possibility for me. I'm putting something in front of them that they've maybe never seen before, maybe never thought they would enjoy, but here it is. And it's like, damn, I don't feel as like bad about that, or I don't feel as scared about that, or I don't feel as like, well, that's weird about that as I thought I was going to. That was fucking awesome. And now I'm intrigued. And that's exactly what happened. I was like, if I guarantee one kid went home, kicked their fucking shoes off, and it started moving around on the carpet or moving around on the kitchen floor, acting like they were playing derby. And that's what it was about. So there's a little fun, happy start to cheer us both up because we've both been like on a super downward trajectory. How does it make you feel, Caitlin?
Oh, I feel so joyful hearing that. What a wonderful marrying of two big passions and like two huge pieces of your heart that you very clearly care about.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like, almost how many of those kids went home and had some awesome conversations with their parents about, look at this assembly that we had.
Yep.
I would guess if you were to track YouTube trends, there probably was a spike in your area of like YouTube roller derby clips and stuff. Like just the exposure. Like, first of all, what a cool assembly. I had like, DARE officers show up and just teach us about narcotics, which directly a failure.
Exactly.
And all the science says that the DARE program was a failure. Matt's roller derby program, first iteration, you might have converted some future derby like players.
Yep.
Definitely some derby fans. And what was the reaction to the kids when you showed up to school today, Mr. Matt?
So a lot of them, like the day, like, cause we did it towards the end of the day, a lot of them, like so many high fives that day. And then now it's like whispers after I walk by, like, oh, do you remember that was, he was skating? And like the compliments of, you're really good at skating. And it's like, yeah. And I helped a lot of them skate. Like the whole reason we did it is because we have a skate unit, so they get to skate in gym class. So like I helped a lot of them learn to skate. So like they'd be like, hey, how do you know how to skate backwards? Or, oh man, you're really good. How do you get? And it's like, I've been skating for a really long time, so lots of practice. And they got to see that. So I think to them it was like connecting those two dots, because I said the same thing. They asked, how do you get so good at this, or how do you not do this, or how do you do that? And it's like practice and not giving up when it gets hard, and not falling and getting back up, because we fall all the time, sometimes fucking assisted. It just is what it is. But with that little 10-minute tangent of this episode, I hope everybody out there has something that's keeping them happy, keeping them joyful, and keeping the spark alive. I just did that thing where they say the important information in an episode. So Caitlin, we're talking about keeping the spark alive, and I'm curious, just as off the tip, we're going to jump straight in. And I want to know, does your relationship with yourself count as a spark of its own?
So seriously, this is what we're
Yep.
doing straight out the
Yeah.
gate.
I set it up. We had 10 minutes of like joy. So you can't be like, I don't know.
Frick.
Yeah.
I for me right now, currently, no. It should be though.
Yeah.
It should be. I don't know what the planets were doing this past weekend. I have been keeping my intuition quiet, but I ripped the tape off the mouth of that bitch, and she's been yapping at me since for the last 48 hours.
Fair.
So now, maybe in the last 48 hours, I've been keeping the spark alive, having uncomfortable conversations with myself. But in general, it's not.
Yeah. I was just saying, I think, you know, to a degree, keeping the spark alive with yourself matters, simply because if you're not feeling yourself, if you're not, you know, in your like happy zone for you, it's hard to even like you can, I don't want to say fake it, but you can like turn it on for other people just to like get by. But like at the end of the day, that's more draining to you than anything else. So like, is it really alive, or is it just on life support? You know what I mean? Like if you stop, if you didn't put in that little bit of like, here we go, yeah, you know, excitement, like, would it actually matter? So there's that. But like I said, I wanted to jump in with that one. That was on the bottom of my list, so it means that it was one of the more recent. It was one of the first like thoughts that I had when I started it, and you know, it just got bumped down the list. So it's like we're going straight to the bottom of the list, asking that hard question when I was like really like preparing this episode. But yeah, what how would you describe to people listening what the spark is in a relationship? Because you're the TikTok queen, so like you know, and all of the lingos that I would not know.
All the lingos. Oh, we might need to bring back Caitlin educates Matt about TikTok trends, because there's been a lot going on over.
I was thinking we might just have to do a segment every couple episodes where it's like a small segment. I think we could do that. But anyway, educate me on what how to describe a spark.
Oh, the spark is the antithesis of boredom and monotony. And in adulthood, and especially in parenthood, the spark can mean a lot of different things, especially in all the different seasons of your relationship. Like the spark for me and my husband now in the trenches of these toddler parenthood years looks so much different than it did when we were in college starting to date and figure each other out, you know? Whatever it looks like for me and for my relationship and my marriage, it is, even if it's just a small, quick moment of connection and communication, like it's just finding a way to, my husband and I, we do this thing, and you might need to, if you're not watching this on the video version of this, for our audio listeners, I'll describe what I'm about to do. My husband and I, we have this visual cue to each other when we are like, we literally will look at each other and be like, you and me, right here, right here. And it's just like a connection of like literally with our hands making a connection of that. That small moment is a spark. It's something of acknowledging your relationship, acknowledging your love for each other, your connection, your partnership outside of the minutia of everyday life.
Yeah. So with that said, she's described what a spark is. Whether you agree or disagree, I don't necessarily care. I'm just gonna put that on Front Street. But these are I got two lists of like habits, I guess. This one specifically says habits. I don't remember what the other one says, but it's 20 habits of a happy couple. And we're talking about the spark as in a couple, or at least people in a relationship. It doesn't have to be a couple as in like truly two, but just like in general, your romantic partners and such. One, they laugh together. That's a given, I feel like. They make sacrifices. I don't know that like, I guess a happy couple makes sacrifices, but as far as the spark goes, I don't know if it necessarily pertains to this situation, but we'll allow it because it's on the list. They have date nights. I'm going to put an asterisk next to that because sometimes that actually, that there's a caveat to that, and we'll circle back. They say, I love you daily. I again, that one, I don't know how you feel. I feel like saying I love you daily is like a habit. So sometimes it's like you just say it and like it's not like a thing that you think about. It's like saying bye when you walk out the door. It's like saying have a nice day or you too when like the person at the cash register says you're welcome and then you fuck up. Like it's just a turn of phrase sometimes, especially depending on how long your relationship has been. But good practice nonetheless. Giving each other space. That one's interesting, but I think it's a necessity. They always kiss goodnight. I think that one is one of those like each couple has their own like bedtime ritual and what they do and like kissing each other goodnight or hugging each other or like something. If that's what you do, I'm gonna say that's fine, but I don't know if that's like specifically a necessity. And your face tells
Ew.
yes, your face tells me that is also your
Hello?
thinking. Yeah. Like
Camera just blasted zoom down.
um
Ew. No.
the they they communicate their feelings. I feel like that is an important one. I can't stress that one probably enough. It's number 7, which I feel like is really low on this list, so it must not be in any kind of order. They make time for one another. I feel like that's kind of redundant to like some of these as they go, but again, making time for one another is good. That's the opposite of giving space, but again, make time for each other.
Yeah.
They always have each other's back, which is definitely important. I think that is not necessarily the key to a happy couple, but like a functioning couple is definitely, having each other's back. They learn each other's love language. I think that people in general should just be more observant of the people they're around and take note of what somebody likes because it doesn't have, I don't think it has to do with love language, but like if you were like, I fucking hate pineapples and then like I brought home like something with pineapples in it and you just looked at me like I was stupid. That's not a love language. That's just being observant and remembering that you said you hate fucking pineapples. Like I like it's not a love language. It's just being more observant of
Oh,
your partner.
Matt.
What?
Man, I'm really trying hard to hold my fucking tongue while you're getting through this list, but
Uh,
dang, there's some things we're not seeing eye to eye on.
yeah. Well, that's why I'm saying there's caveats. They listen. They set goals. They don't compare. They're spontaneous. They don't raise their voices. They get your face on that one was hilarious. They give thoughtful surprises. They make time for intimacy. They don't get others involved. And I think that one again is an asterisk where like I don't know what that necessarily means as
Mm-hmm.
far as like if you have a trusted friend or like therapist or whatever, like sometimes it's like there's an asterisk. They work through their problems, which is a big like exclamation point. Gotta work through those problems. They check in throughout the day, and I think that goes back to like the "I love you" daily things. Like sometimes like the day is just kind of the day, and it's hard to do that. And it, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It just kind of depends. Read the room. I'm gonna say on that one. Read the room. All right, Caitlin. Let's hear it while I get the other list going.
Where do I begin, Matt? Oh, come on. Okay. Kiss each other good night every single night. Grow the hell up. Some nights we're falling asleep on the couch. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Some nights we're no, no. Uh Checking in with each other throughout the day. No, not for me. Not for me in my relationship. Again, obviously so much of this is subjective, but I also would be so interested in whoever authored that list if they could come and spend the day inside my home and see how the spark lives in my house and see how we and my husband and I communicate with each other. They'd be like, "Oh, this is not a functioning." Well, we are. It's just our version of functioning and being a happy couple or whatever. What else did you say? You said checking in with each other throughout the day. Hell no. I got way too much shit to do. And also start your day with an I love you and a check-in. Go off and do your own little stuff. Go do your stuff. I say this in the context of my husband and I working very intense, fast-paced jobs currently. We also, when we first started dating, I went on a Christian mission and I lived in Tampa for 10 weeks. The very first summer that we ever were like routinely talking while he was back home here in Missouri doing a landscaping job, which set us into good communication patterns of not having to constantly be texting each other every 10 minutes. I find that to be problematic,
Yeah.
but what do I know? God, what else did you say? I already forgot it.
Well, that works out because we'll move on. You'll get mad again when we do the other list. So like with the kissing goodnight, I think like I said, a caveat to that, an asterisk, whatever you want to call it, is cutting each other a little bit of slack or
Yeah.
cutting each other a break and realizing that when somebody's fucking tired, they might be tired. When somebody is like, like we're a sports family, so like if we just like the Caps are playing, playoff hockey right now. So like if the Caps are like getting fucking stomped, the last thing she's gonna want is like I might be able to give her a hug, but
Yeah.
anything more than that, just get away from me. Just because it's like you're disappointed, you're sad, like you just need a moment. So like sometimes, like I said, caveats. This one
I will sorry, two points. I agree with you that maybe sometimes regularly saying I love you is like it's just a thing, like it's not meaningful. Currently, my husband
I don't think it's not meaningful. It's just like you should just be like, it's just part of your phrase anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's very special when in the very the very few short minutes of genuine communication that I get with my husband on Monday through Fridays right now, which is insane how insane our lives are. A connective moment of just an I love you is not lost on either of us. And now that we're clarifying our positions, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But also date nights. Oh my God. What was it? 2023, New Year's, 2024. We sat it was January 1. We sat and looked at each other. We said, we did not go on a single date night for the entire calendar year of 2023. What the hell?
Yeah. So I have an asterisk next to that one. So we'll circle back to that one.
Okay.
This next list is don't friend zone your spouse. Are you ready for this one, Caitlin?
Probably not.
Never stop. This one, I'm pretty sure I believe a lot of this more so. So we'll see. The first one is definitely what made me be like, yeah, I'm going to screenshot this one. Never stop flirting with your spouse. For sure. That one I will be behind the entire time. Contrary to the kissing your, spouse goodnight every night, never stop kissing your spouse, which I believe more so. It doesn't matter when it happens. Just never stop kissing them. This one is like I can get behind and I fully support. Husbands, never stop touching her butt. I think that one is definitely one of those like you can make a joke out of it, whatever, regardless. And I think it goes for both spouses. Or partners, whichever way you want to go. I don't think that it is specific to husbands. The next one is less PG. It says wives, never stop playing with his penis. And I think that is hilarious. But also, yes, that's kind of part of the spark thing that you got to keep going. Never sleep in different rooms in the same house or the same hotel. And I think that one is an asterisk because there's people who, like, I know a lot of shift workers where like husband's got a room here, wife's got a room here. The kids are closer to the wife, so the husband can get some sleep because he works different shifts. So like there's an asterisk. I think maybe a hotel is a little weird if you're like sleeping in different beds in a hotel. I don't know why that's happening. That seems strange, but I'm not, there could be reasons and I just have not ever come across them. Never tell your spouse you don't have to know. And I think that is saying like you have a feeling or you have a thought and it's like, oh, you don't need to know why I think that or why I feel that way. And that's a fancy way I think of saying communicate with your spouse. Don't like hide things from your spouse is what it's saying, is how I'm going to interpret that, which I agree with. Don't like some things maybe, I guess, but for the most part, open communication is how you have a strong relationship. Never deliberately hide your nakedness from your spouse. And I don't know if that means like metaphorical or not. So we're
literal.
Or literal. Yeah, I'm not sure what that one means. So never deny your spouse sex or use sex as a weapon, which I feel like, again, caveat, is depending on the reason why you're not, like, if you're just not feeling it, use your words. My favorite saying around that is use your motherfucking words when it comes to what you want or don't want, and for sure don't use sex as a weapon. I think that is probably one of the biggest, like, not cool things in a relationship is using sex as a weapon.
Can you quantify that?
What do you mean? Like using
give us,
sex as a weapon?
yes.
So, like,
what does that look like?
If so, like, to use sex as a weapon, it would be like, I want this, $500 watch, so I'm going to withhold putting out until I break the other person down, and when they finally are like, fine, now we can do it again, and then they feel like, or it's like, they made me mad and I'm just going to sit there and be like, well, until you apologize, you're not getting any. And instead of using my words, or instead of having that conversation, I just ignore the problem until, whatever time. And that's, two, I guess, quick shot, like shoot from the hip kind of examples, but you know what I mean? That's kind of the gist.
Okay.
Which I think is, like I said, it's not cool. And a lot of times when it happens, it's like, there's a difference between not feeling it because you're upset and you're not getting a need met and you're having a conversation and you're just not in the mood, and intentionally not using your voice, using your words, trying to solve the problem another way, and just essentially throwing a sex tantrum, like kind of silly. Never joke with your spouse in a manner that sounds insulting to your spouse, which I think sarcasm, okay. I think, like, some jabs here and there, natural, but definitely never being like, you're a fucking idiot, with a sincere tone.
Yeah.
Assuming that it's a joke. Not cool. Not cool. I do agree with that one. I think I already said this one, but it says never deliberately hide things from your spouse, which I think is going back to the, like, open communication. It's just part of a relationship. Never go a day without saying something loving to your spouse, which I believe is better than the make sure you say I love you and all that kind of stuff, because there's a difference between saying I love you and showing that I love you. And I think that's a better use of that. Husbands, never stop checking out her breasts and clit with desire. I think that is like one of the, like, best tips for a list like this to be on here, because it's like, we're going to just say it. We're not even going to hide it. We're just going to say it. So there's that. I think that is hilarious.
And learn where all three of those parts are on her body.
Exactly. Wife, never stop being sexually playful with your spouse. And I think that that's one of those things that, like, when people get in a rut and all that kind of stuff, and it just becomes the routine.
Yeah.
And like, there's no novelty, there's no, like, fun to it, and it almost seems robotic, and I don't think that's fun for either person. So, like, I think that goes another one that's, like, not specific to one partner or the other. Never stop calling your spouse, affectionate names, my love, darling, honey. Courtney is my love in my phone, and there's all sorts of stuff like that we, like, jokingly call each other, and that's kind of just what it is. And, like, I think mine is, like, maybe my baby in her phone, and it's been that way since we were, like, teenagers. So, like, it's just gone on.
My husband in my phone is the husband.
I love it.
With a picture of him and the original Yoda animatronic puppet from Star Wars.
I love it.
When we went to an exhibit in Denver and saw, like, the costumes, like the actual costumes that they wore. Natalie Portman is this big, by the way. Oh my goodness, she's a little teeny little beanie thing. And I'm in his phone as Hot Mama, which was a fun thing when he lost his phone in a booth on Cardinals opening day 2 years ago, and a stranger called and said, I don't know who this is. I just assume that he maybe is married to you because this is Hot Mama in his phone. I said, well, I'm glad it's me that you called, not some right. girlfriend.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious. That's probably the best lost phone stories I've heard in a while. The last one on this list, and this one I believe more than some of the other ones, never stop dating your spouse. And that is to bookend never stop flirting with your spouse. And I think
Mm-hmm.
date nights are cool, all that stuff, but never stop dating your spouse. That means you could be going to the fucking store. It doesn't mean you can't show affection, doesn't mean you can't treat each other with love and, respect and things like that. So all of those things, to me, this list was a little bit better and kind of made me feel more, you know, like that's how you keep the spark alive than the other one. The other one is like kind of okay, yeah, I guess.
Feels
But like,
the second one feels a little less like judgmental.
yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes, I of course in a classic Holmes room segue, it like keeping the spark alive. We cannot have this discussion without talking about keeping the spark alive in the bedroom.
Yeah,
And I have a product plug.
go for it.
It is an actual product. So I scrolling around on the TikTok, and in my adult frontal lobe developed years, I've taken a big stand on supporting small businesses, but supporting women-owned businesses. And I found a woman-owned and mostly female-ran company called Quinn, Quinn, and it is an app, and it is specifically, I'm the girl in book club who's like, smut, smut, smut. We need a book option with smut. Quinn is audio erotica.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
There are several amazing, fantastic voice actors on there. There are voice actors who are male, female identifying, but also non-binary. There is content on there for all types of sexual orientations, preferences. I really liked, first of all, saw them on TikTok. TikTok is where the real spicy audios are. If you want a sample, because I guess TikTok has like more lax audio regulations than what's allowed on Instagram. They are on Instagram as well. It's a little bit more PG without the subscription. But getting on Quinn, exploring the different categories that they have, I've learned a lot about my own preferences and what I like. And that in turn has allowed us to keep the spark alive in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So I love your second list that it obviously you can't talk about marriage and weaponizing sex, but also having open communication. Consent is still very much fucking important. Doesn't matter how long you've been with your partner.
Yeah.
Consent is consent is consent. But yeah, if you're listening to this conversation and you're like, I don't know how to find the spark, I recommend you go get a Quinn audio. And this is not even sponsored. I just love it.
Yeah. So like, I think that's one of those things specifically to like what we're talking about here, but also just like needs to be more like open, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but whatever it is that you need to like feel good in your body and say, you know what, like I have sexual energy and that's okay. Like do it. Something that happened just today, this morning, that was hilarious to me. On the radio in the morning, we listened to the show and they have like a random question that is like read by AI. And today the question was like something about a son, we assume, because they didn't say whether it was a son or a daughter, who accidentally got sent a spicy text from his mom, who is an older lady. And he didn't know how to react, but also didn't want her to feel like she was ghosted by the person whom she was sending it to, that she was dating, because he never responded. And I was like, I love that this person had the thought of like, I don't want her to feel bad because she got ghosted, but also I can't unsee this and I don't know how to respond. And my thing is like, to me, I would just respond, love you, mom. Hope your day is good. Because it just seems like a generic text, and she would open it and see it. And then it's like, she can choose to address it, or she could choose to not address it and see that I didn't address it. I just, you can see what the text message was. But also, I'm just going to plug, this is where I was going, because you just plugged a thing. invisible ink, if you have an iPhone, is the best thing in the world, because you can send a spicy text message or a spicy picture or whatever it is you want to send to your partner or partners, depending on, you know, your relationship
Mm-hmm.
style. And nobody, like, they don't have to open it. They can see that that it's an invisible ink. It just like sparkles and you can't tell what it says. So they can look at that when they have time
Mm-hmm.
without having to like open their phone and be like, oh shit, I can't open my phone and get in trouble or whatever. So invisible ink is, if you have an iPhone, you hold the message down, it pops up with options on how to send it, and you just hit invisible ink and it blurs everything out. You can't see anything. And that is definitely one of those like keep the spark alive, because I can send a spicy text message and I don't know, you know, like if Courtney's out on a job site or whatever and she works with a bunch of dudes. So I'm sure she's like, I don't want to open my phone and like have one of them looking over my shoulder and then giving me a
Mm-hmm.
hard time, because that's how people that work in shops just are. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it gives her the like, oh, and now also it's the tease of, I want to know what this says. I want to know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to get to a spot where I can actually go investigate that. And that's, you know, part of the never stop flirting. And again, the never stop dating, going to the grocery store, whatever it is, doesn't, you can turn anything into a date if you never stop flirting, if you never stop treating those moments of like, we're walking down the freezer section, I'm gonna smack your butt, and this is, and you're gonna turn around and look at me and I'm gonna shrug my shoulders, and that's, you know, like, it's a moment we just shared, us and the frozen pizzas. um but I want to ask you, on the opposite side, what do you think is something that snuffs out the spark the fastest?
Mm. Oh gosh. Snuffing the spark out the fastest is losing 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 sight of the foundational assumptions of your relationship, losing sight of why you got involved in this person in the first place. Time is a natural spark duller in and of
Hmm.
itself. Like, it takes work.
Yeah.
It's not like you have the wedding and then it's happily ever after. You good job, you got to the fucking finish line. No, when you're getting the government involved, or if you're just embracing this person and loving them outside of fucking the whatever marriage or civil unions or whatever you want to call getting the government involved in, you're also um, promising and making the vows to love whatever future iterations of this person is coming your way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just time and losing sight of why you were interested in them in the first place. One somewhere on, was it on your second list that you said, oh, the whole title of the list is friend zoning your
Yeah. Yeah.
your
Your
partner.
spouse. Yeah. Yeah.
I laughed at that because my husband and I, when we're not doing like this, like locked in, the hand signal I was doing earlier, we are roommates that are co-parenting, and that's what we call it. We literally look at each other and like, oh, this was not a good communication weekend for us. We were just roommates who co-parented, kind of.
I love that. I love that you have a thing that you say
Mm-hmm.
that like it becomes, I guess, a little bit of humor. So like, again, it's the, you know, cutting each other a break, and I love that. On the flip side, what is the most important thing to light your spark?
Hmm. Meeting your partner where they're at.
Yeah, I can
And
see that.
yeah, I know there's probably some of our listeners, like my husband has done all the time. I'm like, you know, we need to learn each other's love languages, which turns into, can you empty the dishwasher? No, I got to go do something else. But emptying the dishwasher is one of my love languages. That's not acts of services, but like he's goes out of his way to be facetious about it. So yes, meeting your partner where they're at, but also like uh choosing them in ways of like paying attention that they don't like pineapples
Yeah, exactly.
and
I
continuing to pay attention to that through the different seasons of your life.
I agree. I think that that is a perfect, like, I don't want to say answer, because that was like an explanation for the answer, but like I think lighting the spark comes back to like being attentive to your partner, and you're never like, if your partner's like walking in the walk, and this is like, I think every couple I've ever talked to about this has said the same thing, where like one of them will walk in and it's like they're like they got the eyebrows going laying in bed, and then the partner is like, "Ugh," and it's like, sorry, and you're like, cool, well, thanks for that burp, that was like the sexiest thing ever, and you can laugh it off and be like whatever, and then it's like they plop down in bed and it's like, what the fuck did I marry? And
Oh God.
you can either laugh it off and be like, God damn it, and meet them where they're at in that moment, or you could be like, God, you're so fucking disgusting. I'm rolling over and like, whatever. Like my favorite example is the change up where uh Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman switch bodies, and Jason
Mm,
Bateman is the one with the wife, and she goes to the bathroom and she's like, I shouldn't have had the whatever like Mexican food or something, whatever it was that she said, and she's just destroying the bathroom, and then she comes back to bed and he's like, rotate your turret and go night night, and she was like, what? Because it's just people that aren't in a relationship in that like sense just don't get it, but that's part of it, is meeting your partner where they're at sometimes and being like, I accept you for what it is, we're here for this, where if you're single, or if you're dating around, or like you're just like a friends with benefit kind of situation, where like those situations never pop up and you never have to work past them, and
hmm
find a way to be like, even though this just happened, I
Listen,
still think you're hot.
manage your own expectations, because there is a fucking reason why we no longer cook dinners with heavy cream in my household.
Exactly.
Okay?
There you go. You gotta know. But then, like that's one of the other things, is like I said it before, that like the novelty, right? So like
hmm
I think it was one of the shame or the I think it was one of the Sex Reimagined episodes that we did, where I was like, I don't know why like guys are afraid of like batteries. You know what I mean? Like, if there is a toy or a thing that
Mm.
your wife enjoys or your partner enjoys, and you're like threatened by it, you can't be threatened by something like it's got batteries, man. Like it is
You are only going to benefit
yeah, exactly.
from embracing that.
So
Hello?
understanding that like it may not be a thing that like you specifically, I don't want to say enjoy, but like that like is like favorable thing to you, but it doesn't mean it's not something favorable to them.
hmm
So understand that like you got to communicate and know what they want, what they need, and accept that maybe that thing is something they need, and not be threatened by that. Use it to
hmm
enhance, not to subtract. You know what I mean? I don't know how you feel about that one, but like that's the one, that's one of my big ones that I hear a lot, and I just can't like.
I just listen, ever since I became a Quinn subscriber, Quinn, ladies, gents, they, thems, theirs, please go check it out. Oh my gosh. I have entered into a new world of like unabashedly owning my sexuality, like being more open about what I like, how I like it. Not
Yeah,
even just with my husband, like with my friends. Like my
yeah,
friends are sending me Instagram reels of like, this is so Caitlin coded. And it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
some hate it. Like, and I'm like, yes, I feel so seen. Thank you so much. Um, so there's something to be said about like the long-term relationships, the new versions of your person. Cause uh Bible Belt deconstructed, like before I got deconstructed, Bible Belt born and raised college freshman Caitlin would have clutched her pearls if she heard 30-year-old Caitlin say, I own my sexuality and I like what I like, and life's too short to not get some how I like it.
yeah. And I love that you said that, and I applauded. I gave you a clap. One of the things I put my finger on my nose is something that somebody I used to know forever ago used to do when they were like, I have an idea or I have a thought that I want to remember. And I still do it from time to time. I have a note specifically about that, and like where like I think the way that I grew up and the way that like my mom was ultra religious, my dad is still pretty religious. My mom is a little bit more lax and like her like pushing it on to us. Whereas like my dad is still like anything I bring up, any topic, anything, they both still do it, and it's always like something about God, or like you got to pray on it, you got to whatever, and it's almost always unhelpful in this area because it's like, well, you see, I feel like I was judged constantly because that's how you're brought up to feel in a church. So I've even made a note that says you can't really talk to parents about like, what did you guys do, or how did you guys make it through, because a lot of times they're scared to tell you, but B, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it's more about well, it's just something that we didn't talk about because that's not something that's between a husband and a wife, and they always cycle it back to faith. And I think that that's super unhelpful to a younger generation. And if you can, like, I tell people all the time, I don't care, I will kiss my wife in front of my kids, and if they're like, ew, then like, good, because they're going to grow up and be like, that's, relationships are to be seen, not to be hidden.
Oh,
And I think
I
that that's
I I didn't understand that because my parents never did it
mm-hmm,
until I was around my in-laws when my
mm-hmm,
husband and I started dating, and they openly, like, my father-in-law, I was like, openly slaps my mother-in-law's ass in front of all of us, and I was
yeah,
like, ugh, but also,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
to the
exactly,
point where like we've I do that with my own husband because I want my kids to see
yeah.
what that looks like and what they should
And good
expect
on
and
you,
require.
because I think that that's one of the biggest things that I don't say bugs me, is like women hiding their sexuality or only being the targets of sexuality
Mhm.
because that's all that's seen. And I think that that's a really disappointing situation.
Just tonight at dinner, Matt, my my 2-year-old son is going around like obsessed with construction equipment,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Mommy, Daddy was sitting on a dump truck today," and I
Yeah.
said, "Huh, Daddy's got a dump truck," and then both the kids were like, "What?" And
But,
then they
yeah.
once it's like processed, they started laughing and giggling, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, I like that's I want
Yeah.
that to be normal in
Yeah.
my house and my home."
Yep.
And it is, so,
Yep.
you know.
Like I said, I'm a solid that's what she said joke teller. So like, exposed to it in every direction. But yeah, like I think, one of the things that like, as far as keeping the spark alive, is like, understanding just that it's okay to be open, and it's okay to like, to be in your relationship and be in like lust with each other, or to be flirting with each other, or to be like teenagers every once in a while. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be like every night, and whatever, like there's the people that like push scheduling sex and all that kind of stuff, which may work
Mhm.
for some people, it may not. I think that a lot of people push it, and for some people it just might not work, because like a person like me scheduling something, if I for whatever reason am tired and like I miss it, I'm going to force myself to do that, and it's not going to make me feel better. It's going to make me feel like I did a chore because I had to force myself to do it, because
Yep.
everything in my body was like, you're fucking tired, go to sleep.
Yep.
What would be better is going to sleep and being able to have an open conversation and say, hey, sorry, I was tired last night, but I was tired. And in response getting, oh, I was fucking tired too. That's not like, I get it. Doesn't make a difference. I still love you, because now I know that I like that's safe, as opposed to like forcing myself to do something I'm really not in the mood to do, because that's more of a self betrayal to me than it would be if I just said, you know what, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm tired. I'm going to roll over. Like, understanding what things to you matter, which is why when I asked you, like, does your relationship with yourself count as a spark of its own? I think it does. I think it truly is where it starts, because if the spark from yourself dies, it's hard to start a spark with somebody else. And if you are not entirely, like, I don't want to say lit, because that sounds weird, but if you're not entirely like, you know, vibing with yourself, that's fine, but it can't go out completely. If you let that spark for yourself go out completely, I think it's hard to get it going with somebody else. And at that point, are you just assuming what they want as opposed to what you need?
Yeah. I have physical reactions to you talking about the personal spark inside myself because of realizations that I had this weekend, which is why, Matt, I sent you a text last night and I said,
Yeah. And I got one more thing, and
let's
then like
go.
I'm actually looking at the clock because I'm trying to get you that time. So I posted a thing forever ago while we were in our off season about like taking spicy pictures and like how to do it in ways that are like, if you're bashful all the way to like if you're brave and you want to whatever. Taking any kind of picture of yourself and feeling yourself is definitely a good way to start like having that spark with yourself. But one of the things that I just recently, I don't want to say learned, but heard about, and I'm really curious is because the motion might be different than a still image, and you can always like screen grab a still image, but doing the different poses or the different things and just watching slash recording a video of yourself, and as opposed to just a like group of photos, and seeing yourself move, because a lot of times body movement is like, damn, I didn't realize I looked, like when I moved like that, that was an area that looked good. Or I didn't realize that,
Mm-hmm.
like when I like whip my hair the right way, like, damn, that was some like, Demi Moore and like some super, distant movie brain me that was like, yeah, that would be amazing. I could never do that. And now it pops back, like there's always, new ways to try and like get that spark with yourself going. And I think that taking pictures slash possibly video that you can then grab still images from is really, really, really helpful. And they don't even have to go to a person or like post it anywhere. It could be something that you look at and you're like, damn, I am kind of sexy, and then you delete it and it's gone. Like it's for you to feel yourself and to realize that like you can be okay in your body, and that like you exist, take up space. And like I said, that was my last thing. And we have a That's What She Said because Caitlin was adamant about having it. So what you got, Caitlin?
Listen, Matt, homies, I'm grabbing the mic. Oh, I'm gonna just pause it. Anyways, listen. Of course, Matt, in his divine timing, says some shit like the spark within yourself after the weekend that I just had. I don't know what the hell the planets were doing, but it's been a past 48 hours of realization with me. And I have not been inspired to do a That's What She Said because the spark within myself has been pretty quiet and dim lately. And I was doing that on purpose. I grew up with a law enforcement dad who always talked about listening to your gut. He was not very granola. The one thing I'm pretty granola about is listening to my gut, which we all can just say is our intuition. You have an intuition, you have a gut, you have an inner voice, and you have a spirit that like will help you if you hone it. Specific to women in my family, I pointed this out to my niece. I said, listen, you're about to go out into the world. Do you find that your first impression of people is usually spot on? Yes. Do you have a usually pretty accurate, good first read of people? Yes. Congratulations, you have the right woman intuition. Now, me, lately, I've been keeping my intuition quiet on purpose because I knew that once I ripped the tape off of the mouth of that intuition, it was going to have some yappy fucking shit that was going to make me real upset when I said it. But lo and behold, I reconnected with her over this weekend. And I wanted to. There were several large realizations. Something we talked about off camera before we started recording. Not to dangle that in front of you, but maybe I'll talk about it in front of camera eventually. But the first one and the most pressing one that I felt like I needed to say as a That's What She Said this week. Keeping the spark alive with my husband we had a date night over this weekend. And I was like, oh, this specific person in my life, they've written me off. They lack the ability and the capacity to actually see me as a new version and a new iteration of myself. And my husband said, yeah, I'm around you. I know you. I see the work you're putting in. Thank you for doing that. I see the hard work that you're doing to, be a better version of yourself, be more compassionate, all of the good things. But for some reason, my intuition said that I need to say this tonight on the podcast. Dude, if you're waiting around for the approval of someone or the like acceptance or validation of the work that you're putting in, just please come to the realization, hopefully sooner than I did, because it took me a long time, that whatever person that you're sitting around and waiting for that approval on, they very likely have just written you off or lack the capacity or ability to even give you the approval that you're waiting for. And if you're only doing the hard work to get the approval from other people or other specific peoples in your life, you're wasting your time. It's not genuine foundational identity work. It's not genuine. It's not coming from a place of actually trying to better yourself. It's performative because you're trying to do it to get other people's fucking approval. So quit that shit. That's what she said.
I like it. I agree with that. I'm glad that you are, you know, listening to yourself, because that's, uh, I mean, that's the most important person to listen to is yourself.
She's been yapping, Matt. Oh my
Good,
God. Do you know
good.
how annoying she is?
Uh, I thank you for sharing that, and I think that hopefully that reaches some people's ear holes in the right way. I have one more question, but I said I would circle back to the date and, that kind of thing, and like scheduling dates or having date nights. So we don't have date nights because we're super busy, and like she's got Derby, and then we got kids that do this and then this and that, and she doesn't get home till late. So I'm cooking it. Like it's just hard to do. We very rarely have time. What we do have time to do is get up on a Saturday morning and go get coffee and go to the stores and do all our errands, which we make our date night. So we go get coffee, and it's a Saturday morning of from like 8 o'clock to like 10:30 of us going and doing our errands, but talking to each other about it. We listen to maybe the episode that you and I recorded that week, or we listen to whatever random podcast that we try and catch up on as we're driving around to different stores and doing our like weekly shopping stuff. And I think that what it comes down to is anything can be used to keep your spark alive if you want to keep your spark alive. When you don't want to keep your spark alive, you can come up with a million excuses on why and what you should be doing that you're not doing. And like I said, we have a busy schedule, so we can't do a lot of stuff at night. So we're not going to dinner, and we got kids, and she gets up then, and then that's like, we can make all those excuses and be like, well, we're just never going to go on a date. Or we can set aside intentional time while doing something else to make it a date, and that's what we do. So there's options. So we go get Starbucks and walk around, random stuff. Right now it's Target. I know there's a boycott on Target. However, when we go, we usually buy we shop a lot of the products that are their Black owned companies, so that's who we're spending our money on. But yeah, and the last question I have for you, and this one is like the heaviest hitter, so like I want you to understand that I gave you the easy ones, apart from that very first one, which was just timing sensitive. But what's one thing that you did when you first started dating that you miss now, and why did it go away when it comes to keeping the spark alive?
One thing that we did when we first started dating was go to frat house parties together, but not show up at the same time or arrive together.
Yeah.
It was like such a fun thing of like, all right, I'll see you when I see you. But then like showing up, putting in the extra time to make sure that I looked real cute with my acrylic statement necklace back in the day, because our style has definitely changed since then. But being social freely, that's so very college coded for such a long-term relationship that started back in the day, but that's like the
Yeah,
first thing that vividly comes to mind. I'm like,
yeah,
I'll meet you at the frat house. I'm not
yeah,
gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you what I'm wearing, but I'm gonna spend some extra time to look cute for you.
yeah. Um, I I love that, and I think that mine parallels that, and I think that that goes to show what like long-term relationships do to, you know, what a relationship is. So for me, I think that, you know, it was about probably as I'm looking at Caitlin's arm because her camera zoomed in. I just got forearm. I'm just talking to Caitlin's forearm now. There you go. Slouch down. I got you. I got your eyeballs at least. Don't fall out the chair backwards. So for me, it was definitely you know, the getting dressed up, and you know, wearing whatever was stylish then versus like now we go out and it's like you're lucky that like these pants have a belt, you know what I mean, kind of deal. Like not that that is how it is, but like, you know, you're like I'm wearing my nice t-shirt, leave me the fuck alone, kind of deal.
You look gussied up.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I've taken, because I've felt that, and I've noticed that that is a thing. I've taken it upon myself to dress up a little bit more, to like do random things where I put a little bit more effort in, just because for me it means something. Whether it means something to her or not, it doesn't necessarily make a difference, but it makes me feel better, like I'm putting
Get
in
you in a nice
more.
mindset, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And you know, that's just one of those, you got to figure out what works for you, and what will keep the spark alive for your unique relationship. So with that, thank you for listening. And you know, you let us know what things do you think keep a spark alive in a relationship. And you know, if you let us know something, maybe we'll throw it in the story, or maybe we'll, you know, post it in a, like put them in a group post on a graphic and throw them up on the socials. But again, like I said, I think for every relationship is different, so I definitely would love to hear some ideas on how to keep the spark alive. What about you, Caitlin?
Same. Check out the Instagram. Matt does such a wonderful freaking job posting regularly there. Adore that. Thank you for that unseen and thankless work that you put into that. Everything that we've said is in the specific context of our long-term relationships. So take anything that doesn't resonate, leave it here on the episode, but please tell us if there's something that we didn't touch on that keeps your spark alive. I would love to hear it. I would love some new ideas, to be honest.
Exactly. And like she said, I will also plug, she said audio erotica, and I think that that is a wonderful idea. But also, listen to some spicy podcasts together. Those like Sex Reimagined. Listen to that podcast together. Like there's so many things that you can do that like opens up the conversation, and like you may find it, you know, like awkward at first, but then you're like, hey, what'd you think about that? And then you realize, oh shit, we're on the same page. You like that too? Damn, I thought I was alone. And now you have a conversation starter, and you know, a little kindling for that spark. Maybe it's a fire. Maybe it's a smoldering fire. I don't know. Either way. But thank you for listening.
Bye,
Bye.
homies.
The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something.